Howdy folks, it's Brad with Engadget, and today's phone we're checking out is the Samsung Conquer 4G. The Conquer 4G is running off of the Sprint WiMAX network, so that's where we get the 4G from, and whenever you add 4G to the title of a phone, it seems like the cost of it tends to multiply 2 or 3 times, and that's certainly becoming an issue for a lot of people who want to have the high-speed connectability, but they don't want to be forking out $200 or $300 for a brand new phone. So the Conquer 4G is a nice little solution to that, where you're paying $100, you've got the 4G on there, and it's still got some respectable components in there, such as a 1 gigahertz processor. Now granted, you're not getting the dual core, certainly that's going to be more of the high end. But it's a single core 1 gigahertz processor with Adreno 205 GPU. It's got 512 megs of RAM. And a few other things about the phone is it's super light. You're talking 4.1 ounces here. So when you compare it to a lot of the other 4G phones out there, this is actually one of the lightest that you'll run into. So it's quite nice to just throw in your pocket and go. Looking at the back, there's a 3.2 megapixel camera hanging out back there. Also, you got the LED flash, of course. And on the front, since it's a 4G device, the nice thing is that you've got a frontward-facing camera for video chat as well. So we're not, of course, looking at the highest resolution camera, but once again, sacrifices had to be made in order to still get the video chatting and the 4G in there, and still make it a very desirable device. In other words, without making it look like a total piece of crud. So that's one of the sacrifices that had to be made in there. But overall, we're looking at a very light device, 4.1 ounces, so much lighter than most other phones that you're going to run into nowadays. And it also has a 3.5-inch screen. It's a HVGA resolution. Let's pull that up here. Now the problem with this kind of resolution is that it's highly pixelated. Now if you're playing a lot of games, you're not necessarily going to love it so much, but if you're not into that, if again you know and acknowledge that it's a mid-range device, you don't need the brightest, smoothest resolution out there, then it's going to work just fine. Me personally, I'm looking at this and I'm always seeing the pixelation, and then that just bugs me. I don't necessarily have to have the highest resolution myself, but if I can see the pixelation just without having to get too terribly close to it, that's a point of frustration for me. Okay, taking a general tour of the rest of the phone. On the bottom here we've got some regular navigation buttons, and they are physical buttons that don't necessarily go flush with the phone. Let's see if we can get up a little bit closer here. Okay, that's a good angle. So it does make it really easy to press, which is nice, but if you would prefer more of a flush setup down there at the bottom of your phone, that's going to drive you nuts. Also, we've got the volume rocker on the left-hand side. It's the only thing occupying there. 3.5 headphone jack. Of course, the power button and the screen lock button. Now, also we have the camera button, which for a lot of you may love this particular one because it's a double detent button. So in other words, you'll be able to press it down just a little bit to get the focus, and then you can press it once it's focused and get the picture snapped very quickly. So that's quite nice as well. Also on the bottom we've got the micro USB for all of your charging needs, of course. And that is a general tour of the Samsung Conquer 4G. And by the way, one other thing that I like to mention is that this one has a textured back instead of the glossy, all fingerprint magnet type look on the back cover. So this way I can do pretty much anything back there and it's not going to scuff it up, it's not going to give me all these fingerprints that I have to clean up. Also, it makes a really cool sound if you go like this. I mean, who doesn't love that, right? Am I right? Okay. Now, since the phone has the gigahertz processor in it and it's got 512 megs of RAM, it's still going pretty smooth, and it's actually one of the nicest phones that I've played around with for the mid-range class, if you will. Being able to move through everything, all your different menus, even when I was loading all sorts of different programs on at the same time, I was still able to make everything go smoothly. And there's really no delay, just a little tiny delay, barely noticeable though. So I found it to be a very smooth experience when playing around with it. Just to give you a good idea here, we're going to go into the browser, pull up our favorite website, get a little bit closer here. Okay, let's get out the mobile version now. And we're going to pull up the full website here. Now, granted, I'm not running on 4G at this moment, so it is running a little bit slower. Okay. Now let's check out the pinch to zoom here. That's always a good indication of how responsive the screen and the components of the phone are. So not too bad. Whoop. Now another part of the phone that I would like to show off here for a little bit is the camera. Now I had talked a bit earlier about how nice the dedicated button is for the camera. It's got the double detent button, which we at Engadget absolutely love having. So going in here, let's just pull this up. Okay, now we get the lovely placemat that I have this on. So basically what we mean by double detent is you can just press this in a little bit, let it focus until it goes green, and then you can just press it whenever you need to, and it's an instantaneous snapshot. So that way you can get the focus that you need without having to worry about any additional blur if you've got moving objects that you are trying to take pictures of. So still, like I said, with a 3.2 megapixel camera, it's not going to be the best on the market. It's not anywhere close, but it still takes respectable pictures for a mid-range device. Or if you get wild and crazy, then you can always take pictures of yourself. Hi! Okay, that was really silly. I'm a dork. Yep, that's going on the wall right there. So, anyways, that is the camera app and the dedicated camera button for the Conquer 4G. So lastly, we want to check out the side-by-side comparison here. Since it's a 3.5-inch screen, it is roughly 12 millimeters thick. So we just want to see how it sizes up with some of the other popular phones on the market right now. The first one that we'll check out is another Sprint 4G phone. That is the Evo 3D, HTC Evo 3D. Of course, it has a 4.3-inch screen, so that's a pretty sizable difference, as you can tell. It's pretty easy to see how much larger that screen is. Also, side by side, you are looking at the same exact thickness, 12 millimeters. Oops. Just give you a good comparison there. The other one that I want to check out is the G2X with its 4-inch screen. And this one is slightly thinner. The G2X is 10 millimeters. So as you can tell, yep, that's a sizable difference in thickness as well. And just for kicks and giggles, let's do the iPhone. This one I have right now is the 3GS, so the same exact screen size. So that will be a very nice side-by-side comparison. Now that will just about wrap up our review, or overview in this case, of the Conquer 4G. You can check out our full in-depth review on Engadget.com if you haven't already. And if you have, wonderful, thank you. We appreciate you watching. And once again, my name is Brad and I am with Engadget.